Most people think the biggest money mistake in housing is buying too soon or renting for too long, but that is not the real mistake. The real mistake is much quieter. It happens when a person looks at a house payment, feels safe, and never stops to ask the one question that could change their whole future. Not, can I afford this? But what is this choice really costing me? That is where people lose years. That is where stress begins. That is where someone can work hard, earn more, look successful from the outside, and still build a weaker life than they think. Because when it comes to renting and buying, the danger is not always in making the wrong choice. The danger is in making a choice for emotional reasons while calling it logic. A lot of people do this without even knowing it. They tell themselves that renting is throwing money away. They tell themselves that buying is always the smart move. They hear that a home is the best investment. They see friends posting house keys online. They feel late. They feel behind. They feel like adulthood is not complete until their name is on a piece of property. And once that pressure gets into the mind, clear thinking starts to disappear. Now, the house is not just a place to live. It becomes proof. Proof that you are growing up. Proof that you are stable. Proof that you are winning. And when a house turns into proof, people stop measuring the true cost. They stop asking what they are giving up. They stop seeing what looks normal but feels heavy every month. That is why this idea matters so much. The title sounds like it is about a number, the 8.71% rule. But the deeper lesson is not really about a number at all. It is about the difference between appearance and reality. It is about learning to think in full, not in half. It is about refusing to be fooled by the most visible part of a decision while ignoring everything hiding behind it. And this kind of thinking is often linked to the style people admire in Charlie Munger, not because of some magic formula, but because he became known for something rare. He tried to see the whole picture. He tried to notice what other people left out. He tried to avoid stupid mistakes before chasing clever moves. And when you bring that kind of thinking into the question of renting or buying, the entire conversation changes. Because most people compare renting and buying in a lazy way. They compare rent to a mortgage payment. That is the first trap. It sounds reasonable. It feels simple. It fits on a phone screen. But it leaves out the hardest truth. A mortgage payment is not the full cost of owning a home any more than a car payment is the full cost of owning a car. There is insurance. There are taxes. There is repair work. There is upkeep. There is money tied up in the house that could have been used somewhere else. There are closing costs when you buy. There are selling costs when you leave. There are months when nothing breaks, and there are months when everything breaks. There is the cost of being less flexible. There is the cost of staying in a place too long because leaving became expensive. There is the cost of telling yourself you are building wealth while your cash flow gets tighter and your choices get smaller. That sounds small, but it changes everything. Because once you see ownership as a bundle of costs instead of a single payment, the story gets more honest. And honesty is what most people are missing. They do not need more hype. They do not need another loud promise that buying a house is the path to becoming rich. They need calm truth. They need to understand that a home can be a wonderful choice and still not be the best financial choice at a given time. They need to understand that renting can feel boring and still be the wiser move for a season of life. They need to understand that what feels grown up is not always what is most intelligent. This is where the damage begins for many people. They buy based on what they want their life to look like, not what their life can safely carry. They fall in love with a monthly number the bank says is possible. They stretch because they think pain now will become freedom later. They assume that if they can just get through the next few years, the house will reward them. But life does not always move in a straight line. Jobs change. Health changes. Families change. Cities change. Priorities change. And a house that once felt exciting can start to feel like a fixed weight tied to every other part of life. Suddenly, a better job in another city is harder to take. A break from work feels impossible. Starting a business feels too risky. Saving feels slower. Sleep feels worse. And the home that was supposed to create peace begins to create pressure. Most people never notice this part because the world praises the purchase, not the burden. Nobody claps for the renter who keeps expenses low, invests the difference, and stays flexible. That person looks ordinary. The homeowner with the nice kitchen looks successful. The outside tells a clean story. But money problems rarely begin with ugly choices. They often begin with beautiful ones. Nice car, nice area, nice furniture, nice house, nice image. And under all of it, a person quietly loses room to breathe. They cannot say no to a bad job because the payment is waiting. They cannot slow down because the bills do not care that they are tired. They cannot take a step back because their lifestyle became a trap made of respectable things. And this is why a simple rule can matter. Not because a number can decide your life. It cannot. But because a number can force you to stop lying to yourself. A number can expose a story. A number can ask, are you buying shelter or are you buying status? A number can ask, do you want security or do you want to feel admired? A number can ask, if nobody saw this house, would you still want it just as much? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the kind of questions that protect a future. The deeper lesson inside the 8.71% idea is this. Housing is not only about what you pay, it is also about what you give up. And what you give up is often the bigger story. If buying a home takes your down payment, your emergency fund, your monthly margin, your freedom to move, and your ability to invest, then the cost is not just the house price. The cost is every other good option that became harder because of the house. This is what many people miss. They see the thing they are getting. They do not see the things they are losing. And life is full of this kind of hidden trade. Think about a person who buys a home right at the edge of what they can manage. On paper, they are fine. They make the payment. They still have food. They still pay the bills. So they call it affordable. But now imagine the same person 3 years later. Their car breaks down. Rates go up somewhere else in their budget. A family member needs help. Work gets stressful. The roof leaks. They stop investing because just for now they need more cash. They stop taking career risks because they need a steady check. They stop sleeping well because every surprise feels dangerous. That person does not look broke, but they feel trapped. And trapped is one of the most expensive feelings a person can live with. Renting can have its own pain, of course. It can feel temporary. It can feel like standing still while others move ahead. It can feel frustrating to pay month after month and own nothing at the end. It can feel like your landlord is building wealth while you build nothing. That pain is real. It should not be mocked. But the answer is not to run from the discomfort of renting into the hidden stress of buying. The answer is to think better. The answer is to compare honestly. The answer is to understand that the wrong home at the wrong time can hurt more than rent ever did. And this is where the emotional side matters. Because housing is never just math. It is also pride, fear, envy, family pressure, childhood memory, and the need to feel safe. Some people want to buy because they grew up unstable and want something that feels permanent. Some want to buy because everyone around them says renters are falling behind. Some want to buy because they are tired of moving and tired of asking permission for simple things. Some want to buy because they think owning means they finally made it. These feelings are human. They are not foolish. But feelings should be listened to, not obeyed without question. A strong emotion can point to a real need, but it can also push you into a rushed decision. This is the part most people miss. A house can solve one kind of pain while creating another. Renting can cause the pain of uncertainty. Buying can cause the pain of pressure. Renting can make you feel temporary. Buying can make you feel stuck. Renting can look like you are not building. Buying can look like you are building when you are actually overextended. Neither path is automatically wise. Neither path is automatically foolish. Wisdom comes from knowing what season of life you are in and what the full cost of each choice really is. If you are in a season of change, renting may give you something more valuable than ownership. It may give you space, space to change jobs, space to move cities, space to leave a bad living situation quickly, space to learn what kind of life you really want before locking yourself into a long decision. Many people rush to buy before they even know themselves well. They do not yet know how stable their income is. They do not know if they want children. They do not know if they will stay in the area. They do not know if their current lifestyle is a phase or a foundation. But they buy because buying feels like progress. Later, they realize they committed to a place before they committed to a direction. What looks harmless today becomes expensive later. That is one of the quiet rules of adult life. A small mismatch at the start becomes a big burden over time. A home that is a little too expensive becomes years of tight cash flow. A location that is a little wrong becomes hours of lost time each week. A down payment that wipes out savings becomes constant low-level anxiety. A house bought for image becomes a daily reminder that image cannot carry stress. And once you see that, the whole picture changes. Now, the question is not, should I rent or buy? The real question becomes, which choice gives me the strongest life, not just the nicest story? That is a much harder question because a strong life does not always look flashy. A strong life has margin. A strong life has room for mistakes. A strong life can absorb surprises. A strong life gives you options when life changes. A strong life lets you sleep. And margin is one of the most underrated forms of wealth. People chase bigger incomes, bigger homes, bigger status. But what often brings the deepest peace is not bigger. It is enough with room left over. It is having money after the bills. It is not panicking over every repair. It is not needing perfect months to survive. It is not being so stretched that one setback feels like a crisis. This is why people who think clearly about money often sound less exciting than people who talk in slogans. Clear thinking is usually calmer. It does not promise that buying is always best. It does not shame renting. It does not tell you that your home must also be your greatest investment. It simply asks you to stop mixing your need for belonging with your need for financial stability. A home should serve your life. Your life should not be sacrificed just to serve the home. Now, there is another layer to this, and it matters even more than the first. Owning a home changes behavior. When people buy, they do not only buy the house, they usually buy the lifestyle that comes with the house. The couch gets upgraded. The dining table gets replaced. The yard needs tools. The walls need art. The rooms need to be filled. The neighborhood creates pressure. Suddenly, the spending does not end at the closing table. It begins there, and because each extra purchase feels small next to the size of the house, people spend more than they realize. This is how one decision pulls a whole train of other decisions behind it. Renters can fall into lifestyle inflation too, but buying often gives it a stronger excuse. We just bought a home becomes the reason for one more purchase after another, and all of it feels adult. All of it feels justified. But every just this once leaves a mark. Every new monthly charge narrows the future a little more. The problem is not comfort itself. Comfort is not evil. The problem is when comfort becomes identity. When your home is no longer a place you live, but a statement you must keep proving. That is one reason why the smartest money choices often feel emotionally unimpressive at first. Staying in a rental below what you can afford does not feel glamorous. Buying a cheaper home than the bank approves does not feel glamorous. Keeping a large emergency fund instead of pouring everything into a down payment does not feel glamorous. Investing slowly while your friends show off renovations does not feel glamorous. But years later, glamour and strength are rarely the same thing. The person who protected margin often has more peace. The person who avoided showing off often has more options. The person who accepted looking average for a while often ends up with an above-average life. This is the kind of wisdom many people only learn after pain. They learn it after the first big repair, after the job loss, after the breakup that makes the mortgage heavy, after realizing they cannot sell without losing money, after watching their dream home turn into a source of stress. Pain is a harsh teacher, but it is not the only teacher. Thought can teach too. Patience can teach too. Looking ahead can teach too. You do not need to get crushed by a decision to respect the weight of it. And that brings us back to the spirit behind a rule like 8.71%. Whether the exact number changes with time, rates, or local conditions is not the main point. The main point is that serious decisions need full cost thinking. If you only look at the visible payment, you are not thinking fully. If you only listen to social pressure, you are not thinking independently. If you only ask what you can buy instead of what you can carry without becoming weaker, you are not thinking long term. The number is just a doorway. The real lesson is mental discipline. Mental discipline is harder than financial discipline. Financial discipline means spending less, saving more, delaying pleasure. Mental discipline means not letting your ego write checks your future has to cash. It means not confusing desire with readiness. It means not letting fear of missing out push you into a fixed burden. It means being willing to look less successful for a while so you can become more stable for a long time. That kind of discipline is quiet. Nobody celebrates it in the moment, but it changes lives. You can see this in ordinary people all the time. One person rents for a few more years, builds savings, learns their work path, invests steadily, and waits. Another rushes into a purchase because they are tired of feeling behind. 5 years later, the first person has choices. The second person has a nice address and constant tension. The first person can handle change. The second person needs everything to go right. And needing everything to go right is a dangerous way to build a life. Some people hear that and think, so buying is bad. No, that is too simple. Buying can be wonderful. A stable home can be a gift. It can bring emotional peace. It can protect you from rent changes. It can give your family roots. It can let you shape your space. It can help you stay in one community long enough to truly belong. These things matter. Not every good choice must be the best mathematical choice to be worth making. Life is not a spreadsheet. If a home supports your values, fits your budget with margin, matches your season of life, and helps you live with more peace, it may be a great decision. But that is exactly the point. The decision should support your life, not strain it. A home is best when it fits, not when it impresses, not when it proves something, not when it lets you say you own. Fit matters more than image. And fit has less to do with square feet and more to do with financial breathing room, emotional stability, and the kind of life you want to protect. This sounds obvious when said slowly. But in real life, people move fast. They shop emotionally. They compare themselves online. They use the bank's approval as if it were wisdom. It is not. A lender tells you what they are willing to risk. That is not the same as what you should carry. The number a bank gives you is not a picture of your happiest life. It is a maximum, not a guide. And living near your maximum is a quiet way to make every other part of life smaller. And once you see that, another truth becomes hard to ignore. Many people do not actually want a house. They want the feeling they think a house will give them: stability, respect, adulthood, safety, progress, belonging, pride. But if the house is bought in the wrong way, it gives the opposite. Instead of safety, it gives pressure. Instead of pride, it gives private panic. Instead of freedom, it gives obligation. This is why chasing symbols can be so dangerous. Symbols promise emotional reward, but if they are built on weak foundations, they become expensive costumes. The wiser path is to separate the symbol from the substance. Ask what you really want. If you want safety, focus on margin first. If you want stability, focus on steady cash flow first. If you want dignity, focus on living below your means first. If you want freedom, focus on building savings and flexibility first. These things may eventually lead to buying a home, but when they come first, the home becomes a result of strength, not a cover for weakness. That is the hidden beauty of waiting. Waiting is not always delay. Sometimes waiting is preparation. Sometimes waiting is how a person grows into a decision without being crushed by it. A renter who is building strong habits is not wasting time. A buyer who delays until the numbers truly work is not missing out. A person who says not yet can be showing more maturity than the person who says I did it too early. In a culture that rewards visible moves, invisible preparation can feel like failure. But invisible preparation is often what protects a future from visible collapse. There is also the issue of time, and time changes the whole housing question. Buying usually makes more sense when time is long. Renting usually makes more sense when time is short or uncertain. This is not because one choice is morally better. It is because big upfront costs need years to settle. If you buy and then leave too soon, the hidden costs hit harder. But the deeper point is not about exact years. The deeper point is this: the less clear your future is, the more dangerous it can be to make a hard-to-reverse decision. Uncertainty and fixed commitments are a risky mix. People often ignore this because they want relief now. They are tired of rising rent, tired of sharing walls, tired of moving, tired of feeling like they do not own anything. And when a person is tired, they become vulnerable to permanent decisions made for temporary pain. This is true far beyond housing. People take bad jobs to escape short-term fear. They stay in wrong relationships to avoid being alone. They spend money to relieve stress. They make heavy choices because they want quick emotional relief. But a good life is not built by solving every discomfort with a long commitment. Sometimes the discomfort is meant to teach patience, not trigger escape. This is why the best financial decisions often begin with emotional honesty. You have to admit what is driving you. Are you buying because it fits your plan or because you are embarrassed to keep renting? Are you buying because the numbers work or because you want to feel equal to people around you? Are you buying because you are ready or because you are afraid the market will leave you behind forever? Fear is a terrible architect. It builds fast and weak, and social pressure makes it worse. There are few areas of life where comparison hits harder than housing. Your home is public. People see it. They judge it. They compare it. They attach meaning to it. A person can feel deeply ashamed renting a simple apartment while friends post photos of their new home. But what people post rarely shows the full story. It does not show the sleepless nights. It does not show the thin savings. It does not show the repairs. It does not show the quiet arguments about money. It does not show the loss of flexibility. Comparison is powerful because it shows you the reward and hides the cost. That is why wise people try to reverse the picture. They ask not only, what do I gain if I buy, but also, what pain do I invite? What freedom do I lose? What pressure do I add? What else could this money do if I did not lock it here right now? These questions feel less exciting, but they create better decisions. A mature life is not built by asking only what feels good today. It is built by asking what stays good when life gets hard. Here's a simple way to feel the difference. Imagine two futures. In one future, you buy a home mainly because it seems like the smart adult move. At first, you feel proud. Then the real bills arrive. Then the repairs. Then the furniture pressure. Then the lack of cash. You still tell yourself it is worth it because admitting strain would feel like failure. So you keep going. You work more, rest less, save less, worry more. Your house looks better than your life feels. In the other future, you choose more slowly. Maybe you rent longer than people expect. Maybe you buy smaller than you could. Maybe you refuse to impress anyone. You keep a strong savings cushion. You invest. You leave room in your budget. You live in a way that looks less advanced from the outside. But inside, you feel stronger. You are not scared of every surprise. You can leave a bad job if needed. You can think about the future with clarity instead of panic. Over time, that quiet strength compounds, and small choices that protect peace have a way of growing into very big advantages. Compounding is not only for money. It happens in stress too. It happens in freedom too. A choice that adds pressure every month compounds into mental exhaustion. A choice that preserves margin every month compounds into confidence. This is one of the deepest truths in adult life. Repeated strain changes personality. Repeated breathing room changes personality too. The person under constant pressure becomes smaller, more reactive, more fearful, more tired. The person with margin becomes calmer, more patient, more able to think. Housing choices are not only about money, they shape the way you move through your days. And this is where the subject gets more personal than many people expect, because the rent versus buy decision is really a decision about the kind of person you are becoming. Are you building a life around patience or pressure, around image or stability, around long-term strength or short-term relief, around what looks successful or what actually supports growth? Every major money choice slowly answers these questions, not in words, but in the shape of your life. Some viewers may be thinking, but if I wait, won't prices keep going up? Won't I miss my chance? That fear is understandable. Nobody wants to feel locked out forever. But a rush purchase is not always better than a delayed purchase. Buying too early can become its own kind of missing out on freedom, missing out on stronger investments elsewhere, missing out on career moves, missing out on peace, missing out on the chance to buy later from a position of strength instead of urgency. It is painful to feel priced out, but it is also painful to own something that owns your peace. The answer is not to become passive. It is not to use "I'm waiting" as an excuse to avoid growing up. Renting can become a trap too if it is paired with drifting. If a person rents, spends everything, saves nothing, learns nothing, and keeps saying someday, then renting is not a strategy. It is avoidance. Renting only becomes powerful when it is used well, used to build savings, used to increase flexibility, used to invest, used to learn your real needs, used to strengthen your position. Without that, renting can become comfort without progress, and buying only becomes wise when it is done from strength. Strength in income, strength in savings, strength in clarity, strength in time horizon, strength in emotional calm. If you buy because you are stable, prepared, and intentional, the home can support your future. If you buy because you are tired, pressured, and eager to prove yourself, the same home can become heavy. The building may be identical, the result may not. This is why so many smart financial lessons sound almost boring. They ask you to slow down. They ask you to leave margin. They ask you to think in full cost. They ask you to ignore the crowd. They ask you to respect uncertainty. They ask you to give up the thrill of feeling advanced in exchange for the reality of becoming stronger. That trade is not flashy, but it is powerful. Many people would rather look rich than become resilient. Many would rather own early than own wisely. Many would rather win the social game now than win the life game later. But the real problem goes deeper than that. It is not just about bad math. It is about the way people protect their self-image. Once someone decides that buying is what successful adults do, it becomes hard for them to think clearly. Every reason to wait feels like weakness. Every concern feels like fear. Every sign of caution feels like falling behind. This is dangerous because when identity takes over, evidence loses its power. The mind starts working for pride instead of truth. And pride can make even a smart person behave carelessly. One of the great strengths in life is being willing to say, "This is good, but not for me right now." That sentence saves people from many disasters. Good house, wrong time. Good area, wrong budget. Good dream, wrong season. Wisdom is not only knowing what is valuable, it is knowing when it becomes harmful because it does not fit your current reality. A house can be good and still be wrong for you today. Renting can feel less ideal and still be wiser right now. Mature thinking holds both truths at once. This is also why a simple rule can be so helpful. Rules are not there to replace judgment. They are there to protect judgment from emotion. In heated moments, a rule creates distance. It says, slow down. Check the full picture. Don't let one feeling decide a 10-year burden. The best rules are not cages. They are guardrails. They keep excitement from driving straight off the road. The 8.71% idea works like that. It reminds you that owning has many hidden costs. It reminds you that what looks like progress can be expensive if you only see the shiny part. Another thing people miss is that your first home does not have to solve your whole life. Some people buy too much house because they are trying to purchase their final identity all at once. They want the forever home, the dream kitchen, the right neighborhood, the perfect school area, the guest room, the office, the yard, the future. And because they are trying to buy 10 years of peace in one leap, they overreach. But life rarely rewards overreaching. Often the better move is simpler. Buy less. Rent longer. Start smaller. Leave room to grow. A life built in steps may feel slower, but it is usually stronger. The need to have everything now is expensive in every area of life. It is expensive in housing, expensive in relationships, expensive in career choices, expensive in health. People think impatience saves time, but often it only moves pain closer. Patience, on the other hand, can look slow while actually reducing years of struggle. The person who can wait without giving up is often the one building real strength. And yet patience should not become fear either. Some people keep waiting because they want perfect certainty. They want the perfect market, perfect rate, perfect moment, perfect confidence. That day may never come. Life does not offer perfect clarity. At some point, a person has to act with enough wisdom, not total certainty. So the goal is not endless waiting. The goal is prepared action. Clear enough numbers, strong enough savings, calm enough mind, long enough timeline, good enough fit. That is how mature decisions are made. Not from pressure, not from fantasy, from grounded readiness. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you live below your limit. It is easy to underestimate because it does not show off, but it changes everything. It changes how you handle work stress. It changes how you handle family problems. It changes how you handle bad luck. If your housing cost is manageable, the rest of life becomes less cruel. You can absorb setbacks. You can think better. You can say no when needed. You can make decisions from principle instead of panic. This is one reason why affordable housing choices, whether renting or buying, do more than save money. They protect character, because pressure tests character, but too much pressure can also distort it. A person under relentless financial strain may become bitter, reactive, or trapped in short-term thinking, not because they are weak, but because constant stress narrows the mind. This is why the housing question is not shallow. It reaches into the deepest parts of daily life. Your home costs can affect your relationships, your sleep, your work choices, your energy, even your hope. A decision made for status can end up taxing the soul. That is why the wiser voice says this. Do not buy a life that looks stable while feeling unstable. Do not choose a symbol of success that quietly drains your peace. Do not treat a home as a trophy. Treat it as part of your life system. It should work with your habits, your goals, your uncertainty, your values, and your budget. If it does not, then no granite countertop can save the decision. There's also something powerful about learning to ignore the cultural shame around renting. Shame is one of the most expensive emotions in money. People buy things to escape feeling small. They spend to protect their image. They say yes to burdens because they cannot stand the idea of looking behind. But there is nothing weak about making a strategic choice that protects your future. There is nothing childish about refusing a burden you are not ready for. There is nothing embarrassing about saying, I would rather be solid than impressive. In fact, that kind of honesty is rare. It takes self-respect to live in a way that other people may not understand. It takes strength to resist timelines that were handed to you. It takes maturity to know that a delay is not always a defeat. Some people buy the house and lose themselves. Others rent the apartment and build themselves. The outside does not tell you who is winning. And this is where the deeper truth begins to show. The real wealth in a housing choice is not the address. It is the alignment. Alignment between your decision and your real life. Alignment between your costs and your income. Alignment between your commitment and your timeline. Alignment between your desire for stability and your actual readiness to support it. Misalignment is what creates suffering. A beautiful house in a misaligned life is still a burden. A modest rental in an aligned life can be a platform for growth. When people hear this, some feel relief. Others feel resistance. Relief comes from realizing they do not have to force themselves into a decision just because society says it is time. Resistance comes from realizing they may have been chasing the wrong proof all along. Both feelings are normal. Truth often does that. It comforts and confronts at the same time. If you are someone who has felt behind because you still rent, this idea should free you a little. Renting is not failure. Drifting is failure. Mindless spending is failure. Avoiding responsibility is failure. But renting with intention is not failure. Renting while you build savings, sharpen your skills, grow your income, and stay flexible can be one of the smartest chapters of adult life. Do not let shallow people shame you out of a strong position. If you are someone who dreams of buying, this idea should guide you, not discourage you. Buying is not the problem. Blind buying is the problem. Buying to calm insecurity is the problem. Buying without full cost thinking is the problem. Buying because you are afraid to look behind is the problem. But buying from strength, with margin, with patience, with clear eyes can be a beautiful step. The point is not to fear ownership. The point is to respect it. Respect means understanding that some costs are visible and some are invisible. Visible costs show up on a bill. Invisible costs show up in your behavior, in the job you cannot leave, in the risk you cannot take, in the constant background stress, in the evenings where you are too tired to think because your life requires too much. Invisible costs are easy to ignore because no one sends you an invoice for them, but they are often the most expensive part. Opportunity cost is just a formal way of saying this. When you choose one thing, you also give up other things. If your housing costs are high, maybe your investing slows. Maybe your business idea stays an idea. Maybe your emergency fund stays thin. Maybe your family vacations disappear. Maybe your ability to help your parents fades. Maybe your peace becomes fragile. You may gain a house and lose options. That trade can be worth it, but only if you see it clearly. Hidden trades are the dangerous ones. This is why the mature question is not, is renting throwing money away? That is too shallow. The mature question is, which choice lets me keep more of what matters most over the next several years? Maybe that is ownership. Maybe it is not. The answer depends on your life, not on slogans. People love simple slogans because they remove the pain of thinking. But if a slogan can guide your whole housing future, it is probably too simple to trust. Thinking is harder. It requires looking at numbers you do not want to look at. It requires admitting what you can and cannot carry. It requires facing the possibility that what you want right now may not fit your strongest future. But that kind of thinking is not punishment. It is self-respect. It is how adults protect themselves from long mistakes. And long mistakes are what we are really talking about here. A bad dinner is a small mistake. A bad purchase can be a medium mistake. A bad housing decision can become a long mistake. It can shape years. It can affect career choices, family plans, stress levels, savings rates, and even identity. The bigger the decision, the more dangerous it is to make it from emotion while pretending it is logic. This is why so much wisdom sounds less like ambition and more like restraint. Not because ambition is bad, but because without restraint, ambition becomes self-harm in a nice outfit. A person wants a better life. Good. But if they chase that better life through oversized commitments and status pressure, they may end up with the opposite. Restraint says, I still want a better life. I just refuse to build it in a way that makes me weaker. That line matters. A good decision should make you stronger. Stronger in cash flow. Stronger in options. Stronger in sleep. Stronger in your ability to survive change. If the housing choice makes you more brittle, that brittleness will show up eventually. Maybe not the first month, maybe not the first year, but life has a way of testing weak structures. So what does all of this mean for the person watching, the person working hard, trying to get life together, wondering if they are already behind? It means slow down enough to see the whole board. Stop asking which choice sounds smarter and start asking which choice leaves you stronger. Stop letting other people's timelines become your burden. Stop using visible success as the measure of real progress. Real progress may look plain for a while. It may look like renting with discipline. It may look like buying below your ego. It may look like keeping cash when others spend it all. It may look like patience in a world that rewards display. The truth is, many lives are damaged not by huge acts of stupidity, but by respectable overreach. By normal-looking decisions made a little too early, a little too big for reasons that were a little too emotional. That is why this lesson matters. It protects ordinary people from ordinary traps. It reminds you that wisdom is not about sounding smart. It is about seeing what is easy to miss. And once you really see it, the rent versus buy debate becomes less emotional and more honest. Renting is not throwing money away if it buys flexibility, time, safety, and investing room. Buying is not building wealth if it crushes cash flow, raises stress, and traps you in a life that looks better than it feels. The right answer is not on social media. It is hidden in your numbers, your habits, your timeline, and your ability to tell yourself the truth. If you ignore this truth, life can become strangely painful. You can spend years serving a decision you made in one excited season. You can keep telling yourself it was worth it because the alternative feels too embarrassing to admit. You can stay in jobs you hate, delay changes you need, and lose energy you cannot replace. From the outside, it may still look like progress, but on the inside, you will know the difference. You will feel that your life got narrower. And a narrow life, even in a beautiful house, is still a narrow life. But if you respect this truth, something powerful happens. You stop chasing symbols and start building substance. You choose from clarity. You protect margin. You make room for mistakes. You let your housing choice fit your life instead of forcing your life to fit your housing choice. And that kind of thinking does not only help with homes, it helps with everything. It teaches patience, honesty, independence, and long-term vision. It teaches you to ask, what is the full cost? Before every big commitment. That question alone can save years. In the end, the 8.71% rule is not really a magic answer. It is a wake-up call. It is a reminder that simple stories about money are often incomplete. It is a reminder that ownership has hidden costs, that status can be expensive, and that the smartest move is often the one that leaves your future with room to breathe. It is a reminder to think like a builder of life, not just a buyer of things. So if this topic hits something real for you, do not rush to prove anything. Just sit with the question. Look at your life honestly. Ask what choice gives you more strength, not more applause. That one shift can change more than your housing decision. It can change the way you build your future from here.